So I was just at the film called Holy Air. Unfortunately, it didn't have English subtitles yet. I hope it will one day. And it was just here. This Israeli Cinematheque is it's full of elderly people who are very, very rude. They talk loudly. They are extremely unfriendly. I wanted to close the phone and they were screaming at me. It's barbaric sort of elderly people that are just sort of like, no, it was just not the best place for me. It's a sort of a pocket of primitive Israelis that I really felt nauseated. I went to school here, beautiful sky, and I thought it was a really good film, and it was very deep. It was about, I'll tell you what it was about. It was about this man who's a graduate of a business program, and I missed the beginning, but somehow he quit his job, and then he had to find something else to do. His father had cancer, and he had to start a new business. So he decided to bottle holy air because he was following the tourists. And then at one point his wife wanted to do an abortion, and they went all the way to Tel Aviv, and then there was an argument between people of an abortion committee. One of them was left-wing, one of them was right-wing religious, and the religious said, okay, we'll approve this abortion of this Christian Arabs, and the other one said, why? He has a master's and she has a master's degree, and the other one said, have you seen the demographics? Soon we will be a minority. And then she said, well, that's why people leave this country, because it's so right-wing. And then these two women were having a fight. And at the end, they didn't have the abortion. And the father died. And then just as he made these deals, like he talked to the priest who has, he makes money from the pilgrims, the people that come on a quest, like Christian tours of the Holy Land in Nazareth. He made a deal with him, and there was another deal. Like you have to, not only one deal, but you have to, with the tourism ministry had a connection, then he had another, and then he had to have another connection with the local Arab gangs. They were like a mafia. So everything was clear, and then just as he was explaining about the holy air concept, that you have bottles with holy air, just then there was you can hear just above, there was like airplanes coming and bombings or something like that. I don't know, there was just a loud noise and all the bottles were shattered. So it was like a metaphor about, for me, about how everything can shatter in this area. It was a beautiful metaphor. And these bottles are like shaking and almost breaking, and everybody ran off, all these tour guide, or what do you call it, the people who run tours, they were just fleeing, and the airplanes were flying above. And then the last shot was he's driving, and there's a traffic jam, which is so typical of this area, and this girl his little child is in the backside, and she says she needs to go to the bathroom, takes her out, and the cars are just standing there, and it's just also a metaphor. The traffic jam is a metaphor of things being stuck, and they're just beeping and beeping and beeping. First of all, I'd like to say that this movie, it had mostly Arab actors and spoke Arabic. It was really nice for me to hear Arabic language, and a little bit of Hebrew it had, but it had Hebrew subtitles. I hope it will have English subtitles, as I said at the beginning. But what I liked is that it takes us to another world of the Arabs in Nazareth, and also it tells something about the Israeli society, how you need to have connections, which is really true. Problem I've had, if you don't have connections, it's very hard to get anywhere, and there's a lot of corruption in that way. It's the Middle East, I know how it is in other cultures actually. Probably it's true in all cultures that you need to know who you know to get ahead. It was a really beautiful movie. I think beautiful photography of Nazareth is really beautiful. I remember the reaction of someone I knew that I took him on a tour, and he said, "Oh, it's so chaotic." To be honest, after you live in Europe, everything seems chaotic here, and it's loud, and just the film was really good because it was, in a way, the theme was like his father's dying of cancer, his wife is getting pregnant, and this whole idea of Christianity was born here, and that's where the angel Gabriel came to Maria and told her she's going to have a baby, so it was all connected. But it wasn't about Christians, it wasn't about Jews, it wasn't about Islam. I think it was mostly this film, Holy Air. It's about just a human being, a person who has an idea, a concept, and how hard it is to carry it through. And it's a comedy. What makes it a comedy, not a tragedy? I guess that there's a birth, so there's hope. I think what makes the difference between comedy and a tragedy is in a tragedy there's a death. It ends with a death. And in a comedy, I mean, traditionally, like in Shakespearean time, a comedy meant there's a wedding, a celebration of a unity, and a tragedy is like there's the death, there's a funeral. And here there is this birth to look forward to, and it's also the attitude, like the music is like, and the way, even though there's violence, and he doesn't give up, and he just, this guy with all his CV, you know, like his he studied so much, his curriculum vitae is like his what he's done, his studies, he's educated and everything, and yet he needs connections to make it anywhere. And I guess it's in Israel especially true. I recommend this film. You can see there's the board. I think it's really hard. I think if you're a tourist, it doesn't matter because you're not aware of how primitive, you don't understand the language. They talk really loudly, and they have really angry facial expressions, like they're not pleasant to look at. They sit around, they call each other very loudly, hey Sarah, Matusa, this kind of behavior, which is really primitive. So I don't enjoy being in this country because the way people behave, they don't have any manners. They don't think other people are around. They're very focused on themselves. And they go to the movies, and the movies is about expanding horizons. So I think, you know, there's a lot of comedy potential in Israel. I'm going to try to look at it at the bright side as well. I like Israeli film because I want to understand, it makes sense of this world.